Hi, my name is Grania Fitzsimmons. I'm a professor here at Fuqua in the management area, and I am here to talk about my research on motivation. So the work I'm going to be talking about specifically has been led by one of our PhD students here at Fuqua, Jessica Paik. So she and I are really interested in motivation, that internal drive you feel to just get things done, right? That feeling of motivation. So we all have ups and downs in how motivated we feel. So some days we feel really motivated, we're really excited to pursue our goals, and others we just feel more discouraged. It takes more effort to get out of bed and get things done. So Jessica and I wondered what might predict those kinds of day-to-day changes in motivation, and we came across what we think is an interesting problem. So we know from a lot of research, and I think, just common sense would also tell us that goal pursuit is not constant. It's not steady. So if you think of a goal you have, say you have a goal to get stronger muscles or to save money for retirement, to get your company's earnings to a certain level, it's very clear that you will have ups and downs in your performance on that goal. So some periods will be good and some periods won't be good. And yet, what we see in our culture specifically is this expectation of steady progress. So when people sit down to make plans for their goals, they sort of break up the goal into little phases, and they expect to make steady and equal progress in each of those phases. So we think our progress will slowly, steadily increase over time. We might expect to have X earnings in one quarter, and then X plus 2 earnings in the next quarter, and X plus 4 earnings in the one after that. Because of these kinds of expectations we have that progress will be really steady, when we do encounter those normal ups and downs of goal progress, we think people feel very unmotivated and very discouraged. So we have run now more than a dozen experiments showing that even when overall goal progress is equal, so that means both parties are doing equally well, right? You've both earned X earnings, or you've both gained, you're both at the same weight that you're lifting, whatever your goal is, you've saved the same amount of money. Even when progress is equal, people who've had a bumpy road to get there, so sometimes they saved more, sometimes they saved less, they feel more discouraged and less motivated than those who've had a really steady, easy road. What our experiments do to look at this kind of question, to say why do people feel unmotivated when they have bumpy progress, to look at it, what we do is we have people do tasks, like simple kinds of work tasks, puzzles and math questions and writing tasks, and we give them some goals, and then we vary experimentally whether they make steady or bumpy progress. We give them feedback. Hey, you're on track. You earned 2 units in this phase. Or, hey, you earned 4 units in this phase, 0 in the next phase, 4 again. So just bumpy versus 2, 2, 2, steady the whole time. We interrupt them at some point in time, and we just ask them, hey, how motivated do you feel? And we ask them whether they'd be interested or considering quitting the task. And across all these studies, we look at all different kinds of goals. So we look at goals like weight loss, savings goals, and task performance. And across more than a dozen of them, we see the same pattern. Even when progress is equal, so people are successful, they're right on track for their goals, those who've had a bumpy route to get there feel less motivated and they want to quit more often. So why I think this matters for entrepreneurs in particular is we know entrepreneurs are going to experience the same kinds of unsteady progress as anyone else, right? Because all of us, no matter what goal we're pursuing, we're very likely to have unsteady progress. But I think the pattern is particularly damaging, or has the potential to be damaging for entrepreneurs, because the stakes that are attached to your goals are so high, right? So if this is your life's work, you're going to attach even greater meaning to the outcome of each unit of effort, right? If it's just a casual goal that you're setting, it's going to be frustrating when it doesn't perform to your expectations, but it's not the end of the world. Whereas if this is your income, your main cause of life, then I think it can be very stressful then when we face these ups and downs. I think entrepreneurs also face quite a lot of social pressure to consider quitting. So if you compare an entrepreneur to someone who works at a tech company, the entrepreneur is under greater pressure from those around them to consider quitting, right? No one tells people who work at tech companies to quit their jobs or tells engineers to quit their jobs. And yet I think there's a lot more social involvement in entrepreneurs' lives. So we get this idea from other people that either entrepreneurs should be seeing this kind of huge, explosive, rapid success on a clear trajectory, or maybe they should just give up and go work for a tech company like everyone else. So I think when you see these ups and downs, which are a natural, normal part of any kind of goal, and then you have that natural, normal reaction that everyone has of thinking, yikes, something must be wrong. This isn't as steady as I thought. My sense is that entrepreneurs will have a stronger tendency to feel unmotivated and to have those, is this working? Should I quit? Should I even keep going with this kind of question marks and doubts on their mind? So our next research question was, how could we help people who face ups and downs in their goals to feel more motivated, to protect that motivation? And what our findings show is that actually just knowing about this problem can be really helpful. So we told people before doing one of our tasks that ups and downs are a normal and healthy part of progress on this task, so that when they started the task, they were expecting those kinds of ups and downs, right? So they weren't shocked and annoyed when it happened. So it's important that this expectation change comes before you and your employees look at your results, right? So you might have some kind of performance metric you've been tracking, you want to look at it. It's important that you remind yourself and your employees beforehand, okay, these are going to be all over the place, right? They're going to be up and down. That's 100% normal. That's no reason to worry. One thing that has been shown to be successful in other goal pursuit realms is to look at the kinds of ups and downs of other successful people, right? So one idea we have is that a way that entrepreneurs could react more positively to bumpy progress is by looking at the bumpy progress of other companies who are seen as a success. When we imagine those really successful peers in our industry, we imagine them as having smoother and steadier progress. But actually, real goal performance is always a mess, right? That's what real performance always looks like, is ups and downs. So I think if you're gathering your team together to look at some kind of performance metric, it would be a good idea to look at the performance metrics of a peer, to look at any kind of progress or even just basic returns, to see those ups and downs, to remind yourself and your employees, hey, this is what it's going to look like before you actually see it, so that when you see it, you don't panic or start over-interpreting little changes, right? You just stay the course and stick with your plans.